All right, welcome in. It is a Monday the 13th edition. I don't know what kind of cat you have to avoid on a Monday the 13th, but he's Sean Collins. I'm Louie Rabaut. Thanks for hanging out with us here on a BloodHorse Monday. Yes, I'm plaid in a dad shirt. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, we really appreciate you. And if you're enjoying the program, certainly would appreciate you subscribing, following, etc. To the great work we're doing here at BloodHorse on whichever platform it is that you're hanging out. And we want to thank our friends over at Keeneland, hanging out with us all month long here on the program itself. We are brought to you by Keeneland today, the world's marketplace. The Keeneland Championship sale is Wednesday, October 29th. It'll be in the Mar Paddock. The Keeneland November breeding stock sale, of course, begins Tuesday, November 4th. Learn more at Keeneland.com. A bunch of great stuff going on. We will talk with some folks from Lane's End today. Start talking to some consigners ahead of that sale at Keeneland, right after Breeders' Cup, of course. And so a lot going on the next couple of weeks. Busy time in the sport, Sean.
Something happening soon?
Is anything going on besides me wearing a dad shirt? No. So the busy time of year, man. It's fun. It's a fun time.
Yeah, well, you know, it's one of those interesting things. We all look at this and obviously the lead up to the Breeders' Cup makes it a busy time of year. But then you also look at, you've got the sales side of things coming up that are going to make things busy. This is also the time of year and the month of the year where like we're getting a lot of the stallion rosters and the stud fees getting posted for next year. So there's a lot moving on and moving along in the breeding and the sales side of the world as well. So kind of all three aspects of the industry there, the racing, the breeding, and the sales side are all kind of moving around and getting pieced together at this time of year.
I call October decision-making time because you're either deciding if you're going to the Breeders' Cup or if you're doing something else with your horse, or if they're going to the breeding shed.
Yeah,
this is decision time. October very much in that group. And so it is, like you said, it's an interesting time. We get the headlines about every 1 or 2 a week. Oh, this horse is headed off to sire, off to stud, that kind of thing, rather than racing next year as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever it might be. Last year, this time of year, we were really wondering, will we get a Fierceness or a Sierra Leone or a Mindframe or as 4-year-olds, Mystic Dan, we got all of them. I don't want to make any predictions on this 3-year-old crop at all, but boy, did we get spoiled. And you know what? It's turned out to be a really nice year in the handicap. We used to call it the handicap division, the older male two-turn division, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a very nice year, and it's been a lot of fun. We talked about this way back when we started the show at the start of the year.
Right. It's been one of the themes since we started this.
Yeah, how exciting the 4-year-old crop was going to be this year, and it lived up to the expectations. They've all run well. They've each had kind of that one race where they may have lost, but they still typically ran well. They were running against each other, so we got to see some of those matchups. Now we're going to get to throw the 3-year-olds in with them, and it sets up for what could be probably one of the greatest Breeders' Cup Classics in history.
It's at least going to be a candidate for it for sure. We even get, and I mentioned the two-turn racing. Still got a Book 'em Dano this year. Right. I mean, we've had horses that have been great on multiple surfaces, multiple distances, that kind of thing. So it's been that part's been really, really enjoyable for sure. What else are you looking forward to right now? We just had the QE2, for example, at Keeneland. And that's always an interesting time of year, Sean, because you can't very easily turn around with the Breeders' Cup being several states away and go run in that kind of race, go run in the filly and mare turf, whatever it might be. But some Moira win that race. That eventually win at the Breeders' Cup as well. So it can be a predictor of very high-level success. And I mentioned this on the show last week with you, that there are races that hold a spot in your brain as I really have to pay attention to who won this thing.
Yes.
Because it is going to matter down the line. When we had Bob on a couple weeks ago, Bob Ehald, of course, you can find him at bloodhorse.com. I talked about the Champagne being a really predictive race for 2-year-olds, right? Just being an incredibly important one. QE2 stands out like that for me.
Yes, it does. And we've seen a lot of really good winners of this race over the last couple of years. It's kind of like if you are a 3-year-old filly and you don't want to take the test of the filly and mare turf, because also, that's a long race out there. I think it's 1 3/8 this year. If you want to kind of stay in that 1 1/8 range and you don't want to take on the older fillies and mares, this is kind of the championship race for that division at the end of the year. It's right here at Keeneland on that turf course, and we had such a phenomenal race, a group of fillies in the race again this year. We'll probably hear from several of them going forward. Lush Lips obviously coming out on top. We had Brendan Walsh on the show last week, just extending this great meet that he is having so far.
And the BloodHorse Monday bump.
A BloodHorse Monday.
This is the best show for trainers who's not close. Come on this show and you dominate. Japan Street wins the Florida Derby. I mean, it's been for a long time on this show.
Yes.
Many episodes. You're welcome, Brendan. Obviously, it's what we do and not what you do every morning.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
But yeah, it was another great race. She set a perfect trip right in behind the leader and really got the jump on Laurelin as they were coming down the stretch. Fionn kind of got stuck in the back when there was the front runners never came back to her. The first three, even though they switched the order as they got to the finish line, the top three kind of down the back stretch were the top three at the finish line. So Fionn, I still think, ran well, all things considered. But it was a great race. Lush Lips finally kind of got that breakthrough victory in this race, and she seems like one that they're kind of finally starting to kind of get figured out. Tyler Gaffleone was aboard. He said that, she feels a lot different now. She feels like, she's starting to put it together. She's maturing as she gets to the end of her 3-year-old season here.
Sure.
And so this is an exciting filly to look forward to, even if she doesn't run in the Breeders' Cup. She's one to look forward to when we get to like the Matriarch, the American Oaks later on in the year. So she's going to be one of these top fillies to watch.
It's rare that I say what I'm about to say, but is there a reason for us, many frankly, to be excited about this 3-year-old filly crop as far as the turf? What if Nitrogen goes back to the turf? We have Fionn, we have Lush Lips. It isn't very often that I get excited about American, a year of American turf runners. Now, obviously, Lush Lips is a British bred and all those things, but it isn't often that I get excited about the quality of the 3-year-old filly turf crop. But it's really good this year. It is stunningly good this year. The fact that Fionn couldn't get a run in this race gives you an idea of how deep it is.
Yes, it's very deep. And, we've seen where Nitrogen has translated that to the dirt. And so if you could maybe get a couple of these other fillies that could do that, we think back to another Mark Casse horse who was trained or who was running against Nitrogen throughout the early part of the year in Vixen. Vixen was holding her own, got right behind Nitrogen. Now she's running in the Raven Run Stakes on the dirt this weekend, so we'll see what she can do on the dirt. If you could start getting a couple of these fillies that can maybe transition back and forth, or even if those fillies leave, like Nitrogen and Vixen, the turf, and they start running on the dirt, we still have a really competitive group of 3-year-old fillies here this year. And it's also, it's a group where we haven't really seen that one step up and just dominate the whole year to where you'd be thinking potentially retirement heading off to the breeding shed. So we're going to get all of them back next year, continuing to develop as 4-year-olds, which is going to be pretty good.
What do you think about some of them that ran behind here? Laurelin, Opulent Restraint, etc. Anybody stand out to you as, hey, we need to watch this one next out?
I really like Laurelin. I mean, she was undefeated coming into this race. I don't think she ran bad at all. I just think the way the race set up, Lush Lips wasn't slowing down, so she just couldn't catch up.
Tyler got the jump, and it was enough, right?
Yeah, it was enough. And so I want to see what she can do moving forward. Opulent Restraints run very well in a couple of races now against these kind of fillies, and she hasn't gotten the win yet against them, but she's been right there. She's been a competitive part of these races, so at some point she's going to break through in one of these races. So it's an exciting group as we move forward into next year for sure.
It's fun watching Brendan get to do this, only because it's something I brought up in the interview with him last week. Was I watched him with Gosger at 2 events where that horse should have won a Grade 1 this summer. First in the Preakness with the insane rally by journalism in the stretch, of course, at old Hilltop, as we call it. Old Hilltop. I was having this discussion with Dave Rodman.
We're not calling it New Hilltop?
Old New Hilltop is what we're going to call it.
Okay.
Old New Hilltop.
All right.
I guess.
You heard it here first.
We're still working it out.
This is like when
we working out the kinks here.
This is like when they termed the Triple Crown back in the day.
Yeah, right. No,
defining moment.
Listen, if BloodHorse Monday isn't going to name new tracks, I don't know what to do. What else are we going to do? We're changing Belmont's name to Elmont. We're just going to name it after the city. We don't need it to be Belmont anymore. It'll still be the Belmont Stakes. That's fine. But it's going to be Elmont. Just go ahead and drop the B. It's a whole thing. But yeah. Well, getting to watch Brendan have this kind of success at such a concentrated time. Yeah. At a place that he really enjoys, too. He likes being at Keeneland, and so it's been really fun to watch. More surprising to you, this performance by Lush Lips or Jin Jin? I know it's probably Jin Jin, but frankly, this is as good a performance as we've seen on the turf for any 3-year-old this year.
And it was, and I'm not too surprised by it, because even though she hadn't won, I mean, she was running second to Nitrogen, and then her race where she finally got rid of Nitrogen, she won easy, and then she went out to California and ran a very good second, only beating the half length out there in California in Grade 1 company. Yeah. So it's not surprising at all that she ended up getting this victory at all. So out of the two, I would say Jin Jin was more of the surprise. But I would say, But like Jin Jin, you could also kind of see where she was she's starting to come into her own as well. So I wouldn't say that was a huge shock. Obviously, it was an upset in the race for who she was running against. But I think just Brendan's got a couple of really nice fillies on his hands right now that are really starting to come into their own.
When I interview coaches, I always ask him, is it X's and O's or Jimmy's and Joe's? Not a single one has ever said X's and O's. Every trainer will tell you, if I've got the horses, then we've got a shot. That's it, right? And we talked even with the late Wayne Lucas over the summer, and he was even very much of that opinion. No, if you have the horses, you win races. That's how
Exactly.
it works. So
That's what it takes.
But hey, Brendan's put him in good spots as well. Again, want to thank our friends at Keeneland for hanging out with us all month on the program. Let's go ahead and bring him in. He's our editor over there at BloodHorse. His name is Frank Angst. Joins us here on the program. Been a couple of weeks. Frank, how you been?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Beautiful day outside. I'm an old school, whatever the opposite of old school guy is. I do my radio show outside on Monday mornings when I can. Today was definitely one of those.
Yeah, I don't think old school guys.
Oh, no.
Like that. I don't think
In the studio,
equipment out there.
smoking cigarettes, drinking black coffee. That's exactly right. But Frank's with us from there in the beautiful, beautiful BloodHorse offices.
I mean,
all of the great places.
and knock on wood, but Keeneland's just had a perfect weather.
Oh,
I mean,
no kidding.
Lexington did see that 24-hour stretch of rain, but it conveniently happened on a dark day and a half, basically. So It's just been.
It's actually a good point.
Weather, and hopefully it can keep going.
It was making up for the spring when we had to move those races around at the beginning of the meet. We're going to wait for the dark days to rain this time.
I just built an arc. That's how you had to get to the bluegrass this year.
Yeah,
just build an arc and then go ahead and roll it with that. Frank Angst.
Yeah, but you didn't let me in the arc, so I had to swim.
A little swimming from John, kayaking into Keeneland. Anything stand out so far? A performance that you've especially enjoyed this meet at Keeneland?
Oh wow! I mean, just a number of horses for sure, and you know, I just the spendthrift horses. It's just been one after another. You know, starting with Ted and Offie, and then they win the Philly race as well, and then they unveil a maiden that wins by 20 lengths. It's just, as an owner, you know, it can't get any better than that, and it's really impressive.
Also impressive so far in the Keeneland meet. Talk about not this time. We had a great article last week from Eric Mitchell talking about his historic weekend on opening week at Keeneland. He has another graded stakes win yesterday, a graded 6 exacta yesterday. Just how unprecedented is the start to the Keeneland meet for not this time?
I mean, it's just a stallion that's just on fire right now. And just each runner just keeps seeming topping themselves. Not that they're competing against one another, but it just has to be thrilling for TaylorMade, and to just see winner after winner like that, and stakes win after stakes win. It's
been fun too, Frank. I brought it up with Brendan Walsh. It's amazing this game. It'll give you that Preakness and that Haskell for Gosger, but then it'll give you Gin in the Spinster, and it's pretty remarkable to watch the ups and downs that way.
Yeah, I mean that's why they get out and race, and long shots get their chance, and you know now that horse has a Breeders' Cup Challenge bid to the distaff, so it can build on itself for sure.
I also wanted to say, just as a guy who goes, you go up more often than any of us to the track for sure, Sean. But as a guy who goes to the track a lot, what Frank said earlier about weather and things, it has been a real Keeneland fall. It has been busy. It's been loud. It's been fun. People are in a great mood. I mean, it's been a real Keeneland meet this fall because, like you said, in the spring we didn't get a lot of them, obviously. So it's been really, really nice to get into those things as well. We're going to talk with the Lane's End people here coming up. Frank, what are you starting to look ahead to the sale at Keeneland? I know it's after Breeders' Cup, and we're certainly doing those things. But is there a trend you're watching for? Is it?
I mean, the last few days, last few weeks, we've been looking at what Breeders' Cup stories are out there, and we always just kind of check on the Milestones. So I thought, you know, we can share, pull back the curtain on some of the things that we're looking at.
Awesome.
You know, the leading trainers at the Breeders' Cup. The late Wayne Lucas has 20 wins. Last year, Aidan O'Brien caught up with him with 20 wins. Definitely should say that Wayne got his 20 for the most part in a different era where there weren't as many Breeders' Cup races, but records are made to be broken. Things change, and Aiden is right there, and he'll figure right on that Friday with some starters in the juvenile turf to see if he can go over that milestone. But right on his heels are Bob Baffert and Chad Brown with 19 wins each. And they, of course, both have starters. They both have starters pointing for the Classic with Bob Baffert and Nevada Beach. Another 3-year-old for Bob. He has had a lot of success in the Classic with his 3-year-olds, and not necessarily Triple Crown, you know, like American Pharaoh, obviously. But, you know, he also had a Bayern who, ran into Preakness, but not very well. And Arrogate developed late. So Nevada Beach, I would give that horse a long look. It's something Bob has pulled off before. And then Chad Brown with your defending winner, Sierra Leone. So that would be something. And obviously, Bob will have starters in both 2-year-old dirt races. Chad will have some other starters. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Going in, Bob's got a lot of opportunities. He could very well come out on top of this in terms of wins. He's already there in Money One, more than $42 million in purse earnings for his horses going in. So he could definitely add to that as well. Well, they all could, all those trainers could add to that. So keeping an eye on that. There's a similar battle atop the sires by wins going in. There's 4 of them that are tied with 8 wins each, More Than Ready, Curlin, Dubawi, and probably the one that you would make the morning line favorite to come out ahead on this is Into Mischief.
Yeah.
It will have Sovereignty in the Classic and Ted Nafi in the Juvenile and many others. And so that could be a big weekend for him. Interestingly enough, in the Classic, Curlin will have journalism. So
Right. Yep.
We're all pulling for those two to have a showdown again. We'd love a replay of that. And then, Dubawi has good old Rebels Romance, who's looking for his third his third Breeders' Cup win. Yeah. He did have a year in between there that he didn't win. So going for a third win. The only horse that has had 3 straight is Goldakova. And then the only other horse with 3 wins, not consecutive, is Beholder. So pretty exclusive club there for sure.
Where does that put Rebels Romance then, as far as when we talk about all-time kind of turfers that make their way to North America, etc.? Where does a third win? Where could that put him?
I mean, I think that puts him right up there. For sure. I think you would probably say Goldakova's the filly and mare, and Rebels Romance is your male of the two. I mean, that would put him right there for sure. I mean, obviously a lot of these horses win and then they go off the stud. So it's however you want to look at it. But I sure appreciate the horse that keeps coming back and keeps winning like that. Also on the female side, I put Ouija Board way up there. She was spectacular. And returned at 2 wins in the second. I think I might have to double check that, but she was amazing to see either on the filly or mare side.
Yeah, there's so many great memories of those Breeders' Cup runners, all those champions. You brought up Nevada Beach earlier, potentially in the Classic. Gets that 3 months, essentially, about 2.5 months between the Los Al Derby and then out of the Goodwood, the Grade One, where he faced older horses for the turf time. Goes ahead and wins that one. Feels like an Arrogate kind of story to me, frankly. It really does, as Nevada Beach moves closer to the Classic.
But some of the right time for sure. And we mentioned, the legacy of Rebels Romance.
Right.
And we also mentioned Beholder. The legacy of that Beholder family, if she's not, it's between her and the Personal Ensign family of who's the greatest. I would probably, if you count Into Miss, so what we're talking about here is Beholder is out of Leslie's Lady,
right,
who's already also produced Mendelssohn. So Leslie's Lady has produced 2 Breeders' Cup winners.
Wow.
And she's also the dam of Into Mischief, who has sired, as we said, 8 Breeders' Cup winners. So already, if you count all that, that's a pretty spectacular family. Now Beholder has Tamara running in the filly and mare sprint. So could just add another incredible story to that family. Just amazing when you see these big time horses produce over and over again. It's really impressive.
Unbelievable, frankly. Yeah. Talking with Frank Angst, of course, from BloodHorse and BloodHorse.com. We always ask you about the magazine. What's going on for either this month or for November?
Yeah, I mean, coming up. So I'll provide a little bit of a spoiler. As Rebels Romance will be our cover boy, the cover shot for the Breeders' Cup preview issue coming up in November. Some good historic pieces in there. Looking at Kona Gold, the sprinter that did so well. Looking at some of the memorable distaffs. Jay Hovde takes a look at that. And as we mentioned earlier, Kate Hunter, we have a feature on her and her many roles, many of which are tied to Breeders' Cup. And we'll also have a story on the official artist of the Breeders' Cup. Those are always good stories. Julie Jean Stewart does a terrific job profiling equine artists, and that'll fall into that issue as well.
Coda Gold, not a Hall of Famer yet. Would you vote for Coda Gold for the Hall of Fame?
So if I answer this question, my phone may ring from Jay Hovde within 30 seconds.
Oh, that's why I brought it up. Him and Privman, right? It's a whole thing for those guys.
I have a difficult time putting sprinters in, but
okay.
I consider him every year, and I understand the attraction.
We love you, Jay.
You know, as a voter each year, I do try to give Horse a fresh look and look at it again, but I have not voted for him to this point.
There you go. All right. Well, there you go. There's a little Coda Gold talk on Monday. There you go. Monday the 13th. There you go. Well, Frank, we appreciate it very much. What are you going to ask for Halloween if we haven't had those discussions yet? What are we doing?
Oh gosh, I have not thought about that at all.
Have you phased out of that yet? Is your kid too old to go trick or treating?
What's my son going to ask?
No, but like, as he phased out, is your wife like, hey, we're going to a couples party?
So he's 12, so it's kind of the borderline this year.
Right there. There
what
it is.
He's going to do. I know one of his friends called up and said they were going to talking about maybe doing some dual costume.
Nice.
So we'll see if that comes together. But yeah, he's getting close to the aging out of that one. It's a shame. You know what? Obviously, I love going to Breeders' Cup, but that is
the downside. It is
almost every year. I miss Halloween. So missed some of those over the years. The ones I was able to do were terrific. So we made a point of really celebrating those because we knew there weren't too many with my travel plans around that time of year.
All right. Well, if you have Frank's costume ideas, go ahead and drop those in the comments, either at YouTube or at Spotify. We would love to see those. We'll discuss those next week on the program. Yeah. There you go. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to him next week. There you go. Frank Angst, our fearless leader there at BloodHorse. Appreciate him very much jumping on the program. Coda Gold. That's such a fun. I love that debate. It makes me so happy. It is so horse racing. It is so, the sprinting isn't, but it is, and it's this, and they 40 runs and 10 wins and whatever else, and just caring about winning percentages and sprints and these kinds of things. I love it. I love it so much. I love it. Give me all of it. Come on, Jay, get on the show. What are we doing?
Well, it sounds like the Jays need to get you on the voting block for the Hall of Fame.
Once in a while, I get emails about polls, and I'm like, how do you get to vote? Who votes in this? Besides Frank. Maybe it's just Frank.
We got to get to at least 100 episodes.
Frank's personal rankings all over the place. That's all this is. NTR. It's just Frank. And they don't invite anybody else. And Frank's like, I don't want that Louie guy voting. Ridiculous. What are we doing here?
I mean, I completely understand his reason.
That one I understand. That's right. All right, enough Halloween talk. Time to talk sales at Keeneland. And really, really pleased to welcome in Allaire Ryan from Lanes End Consignment, their sales director over there. A busy couple of weeks coming up here in the month of October. And of course, leading into that sale there at Keeneland in November. Allaire, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem at all. Sean Collins, Louie Rabaut with you here on BloodHorse Monday. This time of year, do you find yourself just busier and busier as we get closer to November?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like being in a pinball machine, but it's all good. There's a lot to balance right now between the yearling sales season wrapping up and, the breeding stock sales season about to begin, and then you kind of layer the digital sales on top of that. So it makes for a busy time of year, but it's also very productive and very rewarding time of year.
Yeah, and we were talking a little earlier on the show. This probably doesn't necessarily fall in your basket as much, but on top of that, you also have where all the breeding farms are releasing stud fees at this time of year. Their stallion rosters, obviously on the racing side of things, the Breeders' Cup is coming up. So just overall for the entire Lanes End team, quite a busy time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, an exciting time of year for sure. And Allaire Ryan from Lanes End with us here on BloodHorse Monday. Some exciting ones going into the sale, and Vahva, certainly the name that most people are going to know ahead of the sale and certainly during it. What goes into the decision-making process of a horse like Vahva ending up in this?
Well, in her particular case, being owned by a partnership, it was a group decision, and a big part of that group or that team is Cherie DeVoe. So there was a lot of faith put in to what Cherie thought and how she thought this year was going to pan out for the filly. She was entered in the sale last year, and they opted to keep her in training an additional year, which has been a fortuitous decision. Looking at what she's accomplished this year, and she heads into the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and from there she'll come to Kentucky, and we'll see what she can do on the big auction stage.
What is that process like, getting her, back from however she does out there in California, getting her back? And she'll have a couple days before she enters into the sales ring, but how do you guys get her adjusted and then also make sure that any potential buyers have the opportunity to take a look at her?
Yeah, it's really quite a quick turnaround. A lot of the Breeders' Cup contenders that do end up in the sales come to Kentucky on the same flight, which will depart either Saturday or Sunday, depending on which races they run in. So really she'll land and then come straight to the sale grounds, where she'll be stabled in barn 6 at Keeneland. And it's really a test of the horse's class and confidence and just overall character for them to go from racing to an airplane to the sale grounds. But we're talking about such elite athletes, not only in what they can accomplish physically, but what they just the class and the character that they possess to compete on the world stage, and then to have them come to the sale barn. You really get a sense of those intangible qualities that these horses like Vahva have. So she'll start showing to potential buyers as soon as she arrives to Keeneland. She'll sell Tuesday afternoon on the 4th of November. So she'll have 2 full days for people to preview her at the sale, and they'll get to ask us questions about her disposition, that sort of thing, any sort of health history that people are interested in. But when you look at her race record, it really speaks for itself. I mean, she's an example of class and speed and toughness and durability. So she'll do most of the selling herself.
Yeah, obviously we've seen what she can do on the racetrack. She's Grade 1 winner. She's been one of the more consistent runners in this division over the last couple of years. But obviously, Keeneland November breeding stock sale. We're looking at broodmare prospects here. There's the pedigree side of it as well. Just what can you tell us about your guys' expectations for her as a broodmare?
I mean, I expect her to be received extremely well by the market, not just based on what she's accomplished on the racetrack, but Gunrunner is a young broodmare sire per se, but we do know that Candy Ride is a very successful broodmare sire. So I expect people to respect that fact as well when they're looking at her as a broodmare prospect. And she's one that, she could go to a number of different stallions, both here or if she gets bought by, say, someone in Japan or Europe. She's a good outcross that way. Here domestically, she could go to someone like Quality Road. She could go to Not This Time or Nyquist, Tappet, Justify. I mean, the options are plentiful with her. So
you'll have her in as HIP 187. HIP 107 will be Justique, a daughter of Justify. And this is an interesting one. A listed stakes winner a couple of different times. We've seen the Justifies do a little bit of everything on the track. Where do you think she'll end up landing? What kind of career do you think lies ahead for her?
I see her being very attractive to the domestic market as well. We actually consigned her half sister, that stakes place Champagne Lady, in full to Flightline at Keeneland November sale 2 years ago. She brought 1.45, and Champagne Lady is continued to be bred. She has a foal by Justify at her side, and she was bred to Gunrunner in 26. So an exciting young pipeline. is there with Justique's female family. You know, the fact that she was a debut winner at 2, a stakes winner at 2, graded placed at 2. I see people here in the North American market really respecting that early ability that she had, that she demonstrated that kind of speed. And you do point out the versatility that we've seen in Justify as a stallion, but that's kind of the market that I see her landing in. She'd be a perfect addition to anyone's commercial broodmare band here in the States.
Now, she was trained by Cherie DeVaux here at the end of her career. Now, unlike Vahva, who's going to be running in the Breeders' Cup and then shipping over, she's been away from the races since June. She ran her final career race back in June at Saratoga. So what's the difference in your team's ability to kind of identify throughout the year? Like, what's the process of identifying throughout the year which fillies and mares are really going to take well to the market here in the November sale?
Well, she was one that we knew would be a good commercial offering this November, being that she herself was a $725,000 yearling purchase. She is a very good looking filly. Again, the accomplishments she made on the track, you know, are really those types of credentials that people are looking for in broodmare prospects here. I mean, in 19 starts, 11 of them were in graded stakes races. So again, just seeing that kind of early ability and then to carry it out consistently over the course of her career. And, you know, the decision with Justique was made to bring her to the farm this summer once she was kind of showing that she had accomplished what she needed to on the track. And that was very well identified by Cherie and her team. So, we've actually been able to buddy her up with some other fillies here at the farm. She's let down very nicely. And so she won't be looking racing fit like Vahva, but she still has a lot of physical appeal that I think will be respected by the commercial market when people see her in November.
Allaire Ryan with us. She's from Lanes End Consignment. She's the sales director there. Appreciate her jumping on BloodHorse Monday with Sean Collins and me, Louie Rabaut. We're talking Keeneland sale, of course, coming up in November. Another one of those that will be on there will be the 175 Pure Majestic. This is an interesting one. Took a little time for her to break her maiden, but immediately came back and won in Stakes Company after that. A daughter of Tappet. I think I have an idea of where this might land.
Yeah, so she's actually the only stakes winning broodmare prospect by Tappet on offer at the November sales this year, which is a very unique, very special opportunity for buyers. As you mentioned, she was a stakes winner at 2 and actually a winner on both surfaces, turf and dirt, which is an interesting aspect of versatility that she has. I mean, Tappet being the #1 broodmare sire in North America, what other introductions do you need? But she also happens to be a 3/4 sister to Tonalist Shape, who's a grade 2 winner. So she's got back class to her pedigree as well. So I'm excited to offer her, like I said, that, you know, you can't say enough about Tappet as a broodmare sire, and for her to be a young stakes winner out of a proven female family, she's got plenty to offer.
We also have Hip 409 and Gal in a Rush, daughter of Ghost Sapper, who's on offer here. She just last month won a grade 2 at Presque Isle Downs. What are your expectations for her?
Yeah, she did. She was a runner up in a grade 3 at Woodbine just this past weekend as well. Love the Ghost Sapper influence, being that she's by Ghost Sapper. Again, we talk about that injection of speed into breeding that is really appealing to especially our domestic breeding operations here in the States. She was again a very sound filly, a model of consistency, you know, winning from 2 to 6, 25 starts to her name, 17 of them in the money. It doesn't get much more consistent than that. And a lovely physical as well. She's got that nice big deep body that you get with Ghost Sapper. She's correct. She's got a lovely head on her. I think she's one that people are going to be endeared towards once they see her in person.
I wanted to ask, because she did have success on the synthetic, both at Presque Isle and up at Woodbine. When you have a horse, when you have a mare like this, do you see more people asking questions about synthetic with, the purse structure now to say a Turfway or a Gulfstream, where, New Belmont Park eventually, where we're going to see these courses? Do you get many questions about, hey, could this horse do the synthetic?
Yeah, you absolutely do. And I mean, she's proven that. So
no doubt.
It's an interesting aspect that, like you said, we're going to be seeing more and more of
right,
here in the States. So
yeah. Well, another exciting prospect here is HIP 1192 English Charm. She's a half sister to Burnham Square, who everyone will remember running on the Kentucky Derby Trail this year, winning the Grade 1 Bluegrass Stakes, and just running a very close second in his turf debut in the Nashville Derby a few weeks ago. She's in full to Liam's Map, the sire of Burnham Square. So what can you, what are you guys expecting from her? What can you tell us about her?
Yeah, she's a lovely pregnant maiden, as you mentioned. She's in full to Lamb's Map, so bred very closely to Burnham Square, and what a neat horse he is, and has been fun to follow throughout his career. Like you mentioned, they switched from dirt to turf this fall, and he seemed to relish that as well. So she's going to be one for people to keep an eye on. Liam's Map. With 3 Grade 1 winners this year, and being a half brother to Not This Time, it's an exciting sire line. And yeah, I mean, she, in terms of somebody looking for a pregnant mare that's got something to offer from pretty much every angle in terms of covering sire, physical, and pedigree, she checks those boxes.
I'm about to ask about Flightline.
Okay.
What was your personal? Is this one of those? I remember where I was when I found out Flightline was coming our way. Was it one of those?
Yeah. Well, I knew for a while he was coming our way.
Yeah. When you see that Pacific Classic, when you see the Breeders' Cup, though, do your eyeballs get even bigger than you can imagine?
Oh man, he's just a horse of our generation. I mean, he really is. What a neat horse of a lifetime. I mean, I remember looking at him on the farm as a weanling, even, because he went through our yearling sale consignment. And so, yeah, he's one that kind of brought that full circle moment to Hilt for sure, when he retired to stud. So.
Well, we saw how well his yearlings sold at the different yearling sales throughout the year here. You guys are offering 2 mares in full to Flightline as part of your consignment here. So what's the benefit for potential buyers right now getting in on a mare that's already in full to Flightline with the expectation? We'll see what they do on the racetrack, which I'm sure is going to be great next year, but already kind of having expectations that these horses are going to sell really well at the yearling sales.
Yeah, I think an important thing to note is, especially if you got to see them in person, the level of quality that he throws as a stallion is really remarkable. And I don't mean that in necessarily the way that they all look the same or that they look similar. He's more of a mare dominant stallion, and by that I mean that his offspring tend to look like the dams line or the dams themselves. So I think he's going to be one of those stallions. And let's also mention like the quality of his first book of mares wasn't just, Grade 1 winning dirt fillies or Grade 1 winning dirt producers. I mean, he had sprinters, distance mares, successful mares on dirt and turf. And so I think he lends a really unique opportunity as a covering sire this year for people that are looking for certain mare types that they're really drawn to. So whether you're looking for something to add to your broodmare band here in the States or take overseas, I think he's going to enhance that no matter what the goals are of your breeding operation, because that's what he did with his first crop of foals. Whatever the mare was by or whatever her sire line was, he enhanced those physical qualities that you tend to see with those bloodlines. And I think that's a really unique and hopefully strong trait of his going forward.
Well, you also have a couple mares on offer from a few of your younger stallions who we're very excited to see how their kids end up performing. Up to the Mark, Arcangelo, More Than Looks being three of those. Just what can you tell us about your expectations for the foals that are going to come from these horses?
Yeah, so we love the Arcangelos and we love the Up to the Marks that we have on the farm. We're going to be represented with weanlings by both sires at the sales. And, for anyone that's broodmare shopping, I would recommend, if you don't already, look at the first year weanlings that are on the ground or on offer, and you'll get a snapshot of what is to come if, mare is in full to, say, Arcangelo or Up to the Mark in his second year at stud. Both of these stallions are throwing very strong physicals, easy to like foals, just well made, good balance, clean limbed for the most part, and also well marked. They're attractive horses. So for the mares that we have selling in full to Up to the Mark and Arcangelo, that's what I'll be, kind of trickling that intel to people, that we really like the quality and the first crop of foals by both sires, and only expect that to further come in his second crop.
Underrated summer 2 years ago for Up to the Mark.
Yeah.
3 grade ones in a row, and then goes ahead, misses the Breeders' Cup by almost not, just an incredible 4 races in a row for him. So excited to see his progeny for sure. Yeah, Allaire riding with us from Lane's End. And look, just one more to mention here, I think, as far as your other mares in full, More Than Looks as well on your stallion registry there. What should we look for there?
Yeah, More Than Looks. What a neat horse he was. I'll never forget how impressive that turn of foot was in the Breeders' Cup last year. We've got three mares in full to him. In the sale, all young mares too, as well, with plenty ahead of them in terms of their productive futures go. So, again, a horse that I think, being a son of the late great More Than Ready, has a unique and a sire line that is, open to, really being compatible with mares by any type of stallion here. So the fillies that we have are all pregnant maidens in full to him, and again should be received well when people see them at the sale grounds. So
well, there you go. She's Allaire Ryan. Appreciate her jumping on today. Best of luck the next couple of weeks. I'm sure you'll have plenty of visitors, and of course, by the time we get to the Keeneland sale, be well.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here on a BloodHorse Monday. Thanks to Allaire for joining us here on the program. And of course, thanks to our friends over at Keeneland. I want to thank them one more time before we sign off. We are brought to you this month by Keeneland, the world's marketplace, and the Keeneland Championship sale is Wednesday, October 29th in the Mar Paddock, and the Keeneland November breeding stock sale begins Tuesday, November 4th. You can learn more at Keeneland.com. Plenty of information over there. This is what they do, man. This is Keeneland. Great racing right now, and then boom, you get right into the sales right after the Breeders' Cup. And so all the great things happening in Keeneland. Appreciate them hanging out with us here on the program. All right, Sean, just a couple of races to look forward to this weekend, a couple of things to kind of keep our eyes on, but how much are you allowing yourself to just kind of look forward and get excited about things like the Classic or the Turf or those sorts of things?
Getting very excited for those races. This is the week where I'm like, all right, this is when I'm going to start kind of going through the backstretch at Churchill Downs, make a couple trips up to Keeneland, really kind of start talking with trainers. All right, who's going? When are you going? Get all those kind of final details. And you can follow along all of that on bloodhorse.com. I should hopefully have several videos of these horses that are based here in Kentucky leading up to it. So make sure you check out the website for that. Follow me on Twitter, BH_S Collins, to see some of those video clips as well. Running around seeing all these Breeders' Cup horses we have here. I know you and I are going to have a busy schedule schedule when we get out to California at the end of the month. Couple different shows, and just overall getting excited for heading out to Del Mar.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. Big state bred weekends coming up in New York, in Indiana with our friends, actually. In a couple of weeks, of course, this weekend we'll be looking forward to a couple of stakes that you mentioned earlier in the card. The Raven Run, the Perryville are both this weekend. If you are unfamiliar with those races, they are both 7 furlong dirt races. One of them for 3-year-olds, one of them for 3-year-old fillies. And we've seen some really fine dirt sprinters come out of that Raven Run.
Yes,
for sure. Wisconsin, I didn't win it. Vahva came out of that. Oh my gosh, who did Wisconsin run against a bunch of times? She was a closer of a sprinter.
Bell's the one.
Bell's the one. There it is. Yes, thank you, sir. She won the Raven one. I also wanted to mention, as I mentioned, the state breds coming up, not this weekend, but next in New York and in Indiana. Maryland Million Day did 5.7 million on Saturday. It's up 22.5% from last year. Wow. And it's the highest handling Million Day since 2021. And I just wanted to say, if you haven't discovered Maryland, we've had Dan Illman on the show. Go find it. It's fun. Low take out of the pick fives, all the things, but they are doing things as far as information, things that bettors want. They're nailing it in Maryland right now. Yeah. And so if we can go support that product, the people who are doing things right, free information, free, free picks from the staff there, all that kind of stuff, all the information you could possibly want. Need to support those kinds of places, doing a great job. There at Laurel Park as part of their program there as well. At this time of the show, we always invite you to check out the magazine, of course, BloodHorse Magazine. You can catch the QR code at the bottom of the screen if you happen to be watching on YouTube or on Spotify. Well, he's Sean. I'm Louie. We'll be back next week. We'll have a Raven Run winner to talk about.
And a Perryville winner. And, probably some more Breeders' Cup stuff, I would think. It's that time of year.
Maybe some more, weekend. Yeah.
Maybe some more Keeneland sale talk,
I'm sure there will be plenty of sales talk. Yeah.
Yes.
We're getting close. It's November.
I'm starting to think we don't have enough shows here. We might have to do one each day leading up to the Breeders' Cup at the end of that week. What do you think?
Will we run out of things to talk about? Find out next week.
The Blood Horse is dedicated to the improvement of thoroughbred breeding and racing for over 100 years. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and save BloodHorse Monday on all your platforms. For the latest news, analysis, and insights, visit us at bloodhorse.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.